time as you're waiting for more people to join. Request the microphone. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, so the the dynamics we are facing here, especially with the and I hope Fox here can pay attention to me, and I would love to take maybe 1 minute, maybe 1.5, and then Do can respond to that. The dynamics we are facing, PP. Sorry, we have completely translated this into the migration of the Somali population need. I don't talk about the MI and the KRA thing because I had already raised my objections about legality about it. Remember, that's what my preliminary submission was, that I wanted to hear from uh, Charlo about, legally speaking, um, if you access my data, obviously, there's a legal provisions about that. If it's about security of the nation, we know provisions about that. So I don't want to go into that because then it's just going to change this. I want to speak to this Somali conversation, if you don't mind. My my point is, we are comparing a few things that we are a little bit stretching the conversation, because Somali Kenyans are part of our 45 tribes. It's different from calling them the way you say that, oh, we have Sudanese in our country. And I'll explain where I'm coming from with that. So the Somali is part of our tribe in our context. The only what happens, just like the Maasais and everything, they span across the border. So we have the Maasais who, are in Kenya, in Tanzania, and in Uganda. The Somalis are in Kenya and in Somali. So the understanding and the context of that is something that needs to be, with level of sobriety, to be interrogated. That yes, we already have one of our 45 tribes, is that one of it is a Somali, where most of them are in our leadership and everybody and all that. Kikuyus are in our leadership, Kisis are in our leadership, Lawyers are in our leadership. So let's embrace that concept. Number one. Number two, the only reason why we're having jittery about this aspect of entrepreneurial spirit of the Somali population is because, for some reason, they have been associated with two things in our context. One, being associated with predominantly being Muslim. And I speak this, because I talk about that everywhere. Then number two, they've been associated with, maybe in the way that the leadership has framed it, they look like, oh, they're the people who are like either attack people, and they're Al Shabaab and everything like that. So we have grown a certain level of I don't want to call it resilience. Okay, no, I'm lacking the right phrase to use. But we have gotten to a point whereby we don't think that, oh, these are not Kenyans. So the language I hear when we present on this is like, oh, they do this. What are they? Are they the Kikuyus, the Kisis, or what? Because the Somalis are Somalis, the Kikuyus, the Kisis, the Kurias, the Luyas. These are the Kenyan fabric. Now, the fact that we have the Maasais across the border, and when they come in, then what do you do? Then we resort into the international community that has a community called, we have an Al Shabaab, which has been confined within the Somali um, kind of borders. And therefore, we think that anybody that comes in has to take that label. So, PP, our challenge is based on demarcation demarcation. Sorry, no, my English is not very good. So the demarcation of like who really are we labeling into this context? So my point is this: the conversation of the Somali population, we have to open up our mind. When somebody says that, oh, they are taking over this, are they taking it over illegally? The answer is no. The Kikuyus, being with the entrepreneurial spirit, they're taking over many places. The Kisis are taking over the matatu industry, the whatever. So why are you afraid of the Somalis taking over many places in terms of business? It's because of the fear that has been injected in us that the Somalis are more likely to be Al Shabaab and all that. And that's the part that I struggle with, legally speaking. That why on earth do you want to demonize a Somali brother and sister, but don't demonize a Kisii who has taken over the matatu industry in the entire Nairobi, Kitengela, whatever they're doing that, because I'm talking about business numbers, and the Kikuyus have taken over certain levels of business. So the point is that let's not use some bad elements within a certain group of people, like the Somalis, where we have thought that maybe the Shabab come predominantly associated with that group. But we also have level of the militias within our borders that we don't say that, oh, because the Mongiki is that, and therefore all the Kikuyus are supposed to be labeled as they shouldn't be exist in Nyamakima and everything. So I'm trying to push this narrative so that Somalis are not demonized, so that we all embrace one another. But because they come across the border, it's different. Don't put them together with the same of number of like, oh, these are like Sudanese. We don't have a Sudanese tribe in Kenya, but we have a Somali tribe in Kenya. So why can't we embrace those? So please, I don't want us to victimize somebody just because they look Somali or they speak Somali or they live in Isli. I don't want anybody to be victimized because of that. That's my fear.
DOO, are you there?
I just want to add one thing from what Justice Fohola said. The fear has to go. The fear has to go, and it can only go this way. If you truly think that the Somalis are doing good in business and everything else, like I just said, that bottleneck of supply chain, that's what they kill us, all of us. And on top of that, there's two elements, or rather two principles they do play with, and that is honesty and integrity. We don't have those as Kenyans, the rest of the tribes in Kenya, so to speak. You give just for all something to do business and start with, he or she disappears, goes down the train. But you give a Somali, a very good friend of you, to do business with you, and he does really excellent job. So I think the only fear, if the fear can go away, we have to know how they're doing business and why they're beating us on this business. They do it in a collective way, in a very manner, strategic way, in a very organized manner, and they have that trust one another, honesty and integrity. Those principles they do play in very nicely and they play neatly, and that's how they have won the heart of many people in Kenya in business, and that's how they have pretty much gonna wipe everybody in business. You like it or you don't like it, unless we change our attitude or we change our game plan on how we do business with the rest of our brothers and sisters in Kenya. Thank you.
And Mizani has raised some
Any
objections, not objections, but great pointers. I don't know if they were raised to my inbox or to the actual space. But I also wanted to give a challenge because I know Do might be disappearing soon. So Do, partner with me on a okay, do 2,500, do 2,500, and then the rest of the people, we can only give that money if the rest of the people donate that money, and then we match it. So though I'm volunteering you for a 2,500 shilling donation, I do my 2,500. The rest of the people, if you donate to the PP to the tip jar, we are going to match that. If though akikataa my challenge, I'll cover it and then tutakutana baadaye. But there's something I'm looking for my friend Mizani's big questions. Are they on the main space or on my inbox? Question is not. Where is Mizani's submissions? Can
It's I think it's in my
Okay,
inbox too.
comment on that because I think he's raising very big points that we want to do. So Doe has no option but to contribute 2,500 to the movement on condition that other people match that. So if they don't contribute, then please he keeps his money. But can you look for please give other people challenges? I don't want to dominate your space, but give other people chances. But look for those comments. Sorry, Mizani's comments. I think he has very pertinent questions.
I have it here. I have
Okay.
it here. The saying question is not if they are Kenyans or no, or one of the 43 plus tribes, but it's asking do the Kikuyu or Masai hoist a flag from Tanzania? I'd like to speak as a Kenyan that comes from a border community. This topic is neither here nor there because if you want to know the hell that is getting registered in Kenya as a community, a border community, guys, it's unbelievable. You are taken through scrutiny. I had to wait for my passport for more than 300 days because my second name is Boke. So I'm not really Kenyan. So you see, when people raise such questions about um, where are the Somalis many here, I've grown up explaining myself that I'm Kenyan. I've grown up telling people, yes, sisi tuko kwa boda ya Kenya Tanzania, but sisi tulizaliwa, born, raised, bred in Kenya. Tumesoma Kenya. So we don't even know any place in Tanzania, but people will treat you as some other being. ICDO is dropping, but maybe justice for all. What do you think about that? Because it would be funny for maybe the Koreans in the border to decide to march because one of them was killed and march with a what do you call with a Tanzanian flag. What do you think? That is Mizani who is asking that
Yeah,
question.
that's and that's a very strong point, which you don't see that happening. But again, you have to pay attention to like the motivation behind our friends Somalis raising nimejifunza siku hizi. And by the way, door dropping is fine now. We already agreed that his 2,500 is already secured with me, and so we have the 5,000 to match. Whoever gives, then it's matched after from now for the next 1 hour. But the answer to your question is, yeah, he's already written to me saying, okay. So the answer to your question, PP, is that yes, we have that issue. Um, but does that neglect the fact that we have to agree that we have some Somali Americans, and I want to say this, and I can be contravened, contradicted in any way, who are actually even Christians. Let me begin opening my statement with that. But then we have those Somali Americans who, with all every sense, they are against some of the way that the Somalis are doing things in terms of some of the radical Somalis are doing their businesses, and then they are fully in support of the Kenyan way of doing life and all this, which including, averring the Al Shabaab and everything like that. So I think the assumption we made is that every Somali American, Somali Kenyan, they are sympathetic to Al Shabaab, which is not the case. We have those who are completely against that. So my point is this, that blanket condemnation sometimes leads to another level of condemnation. when my senior shows up like Mizani, PP, I'm sorry, I get lots of words. I can continue. My point is that we need to start leading to distinction of like these things are not always blanketly um, communicated, because not every Somali in Isli is against our movement. Not every Somali. We shouldn't label that Isli is not Kenya. That phrase is what I was challenging Sony when we started. But when my big guys are here, then we can engage. Back to you, PP. Sorry, I have to cut short my my submission.
All right. Thank you so much. Maybe let me give you an update, Falevi. We are at 1900 Ellis Hill, and of course, Lavinas also wameingia pale hivi kwa tip. So hiyo match for match ni kama tunaenda vizuri. Mizani, hi.
Hi, PP. Good evening to you. I hope you're doing well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I apologize for just jumping into the conversation without necessarily knowing where it started and heading. But from what I've listened to from my good friend, Justice for All, first of all, let me agree with the fact that we need justice for all. And no amount of inhumanity or inactivities that are against the very basic rights of human, which is life, should be left undiscussed. And therefore, we do want to send our hearts and felt condolences to the family of that lady that whatever happened to them. Number two, I am a bit convoluted with the fact that the discussion is more about the flag and rather not the incident per se, because if Ustawi or Mizani or yourself, Pipita, was to come and argue the fact that somebody has been killed, murdered, raped, whatever it is, or their rights abused, I think it is our duty, all of us, to stand up and demand for their justice. But then again, we are in a situation whereby we find a certain community, which is largely associated with the Somali community, coming to actually raise some pertinent issues about their security. And then you go ahead to tell me that a particular police officer who was sworn their oath to serve utumishi kwa wote, and in this case under the Kenyan constitution, goes ahead to hoist a flag in march against those incidents. I'm left with questions, because are we protesting because there's a woman, a Kenyan, who was murdered? Are we protesting because there's a Tanzanian or Somali immigrant that has been murdered or killed in Kenya? Because if that's all the case, then it is within their rights. I remember the other day, if you watch closely the international news, there's a lady that was went missing in the US, only 4 days later to be realized that she was killed, or it was a homicide case. And this was Congolese national living in the US. So it was right when the Congolese showed up with their flags, because then they are talking about something that is more connected to originality of the person in question. So if the argument here is the lady is actually Kenyan, we shouldn't be having the conversation about the flags. But if the argument that indeed this individual is Somali, with all the right, they can go ahead and do that. So I am lost in between the sovereignty purpose. I'm lost in between the justice and search for one. And I'm also lost between understanding what exactly was the message being passed with that match. And again, PP, I might have gone off the script because I haven't necessarily updated myself with that situation. And therefore, if I mumble here and there, kindly understand I'm only but trying to understand this from the aspect of the submission I've listened from the members of the plenary. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And of course, I don't know. I just saw the name, but I cannot confirm the nationality of the lady. But I'm sad, but I don't believe anybody's right to life should be infringed, whether they are Kenyan or not. So long as you're a Kenyan resident, your right to life should not be infringed from you, or even the next person. It should not be defined like with your ethnicity, you know, because by saying that, it means that is how people end up moving with tribal rhetoric, something that I've seen not only happening in with the Somali. Now we are even going against the Kikuyu, or as Alua Lifanyani, which is something that really pulls us very many years back. I don't believe that, but I think you're on the right track, Bwana
Yeah.
Mizani. I'm gonna
So
try to get the
I
name.
think Mizani brought in something that is fundamental to the conversation. And my addition, probably 30 seconds to be honest, is that in our approach to what has been happening in Gaza, of course, in support of not the Hamas, but in support of the Palestinian people, one of the rallies we did, there was a movement being told that bring your flag, whether it's a Kenyan flag, Palestinian flag, your Canadian flag, and everything, to say that we are all in support of this. So, yes, I agree the flag has a very big significance and everything to say this, but at some point, it has like we all rally behind this and say that no to killing of innocent people or innocent person. So yes, the flag is extremely significant, which I can never underrate really the importance of the flag that we swear to and all that. You know, most of our pledge of allegiance is to the flag. Oath is to the constitution. Pledge of allegiance is sure to the flag, but in our pledge of allegiance, we did to the flag of different countries. The US has a stupid way of like completely making sure that you are not part of the other flags. But the point is that if the Somalis really felt that, you know what, they're Somali Kenyans. If I know that phrase is being used in our constitution, but they're Somali Kenyans. If they're not swear to the allegiance to the flag of Somali, to support the person who they think identifies with the Somali descent, I don't see anything wrong. So mine is like the flag, they're all this, but human service and human dignity, PP, we have to do this. So Doe has confirmed is 2,500. So then in mine, so it just need to be redeemed by those who are contributing. But thank you, everybody. This is a big conversation. And when my senior Mizani speaks, you know, sometimes I have to go research. Yeah, I cannot respond until I research on it.
All right, thank you so much. And I wanted to just say we can also, while at it, comment on the rise of people who are losing their lives in mysterious fashion. Like the Wajir MCA who has been lost. People thought they had found him, but walikuwa wamepata a wrong body. So I don't know why you can't even say fortunately, because that means those are two people who are probably dead. Mizani, so I don't know, maybe you can also connect with that as well.
Again, PP, just pardon my bad manners. Again, I've not really updated myself on that issue you're raising, but I can speak in terms of from a round figure of what we are dealing with. So, if you allow me, let me just clarify something on the issue of the flag. If we can remember our history, one of the symbols that Kenya had gained her independence, it's actually when the Union Jack was brought down and the Kenyan flag was hoisted up. And it didn't just happen in that field, it was also on our mountains. And that was very significant. So that goes to say that we cannot just downplay the whole situation. So I was recently in Frankfurt. I was covering a march by the Palestinian, pro-Palestinian protesters or demonstrators. And one thing that was very predominant is that these people were actually walking and waving the flag of free Palestine. So to really illustrate the message and the authority that flags carry, we cannot really say that we will assume because our brothers or our cousins or other people from other countries come to our country and raise their flag is an issue. But when it connects two communities that are looked upon or frowned upon, it becomes a serious issue of discussion. And therefore, I still argue there is absolutely no problem for anyone that associate or is a descendant of a different country to actually walk and wave their flag. That is a sign of pride. But then when the individual in question is called Kenyan, that is when everything changes around. You remember when young people were actually being shot on the street, they were waving Kenyan flags. So there's something and there's a lot of weight that these flags carry. And I pray that that incident is not just looked upon as any other incident, it's actually investigated. And for me, it will actually go a greater length to actually address many issues that foreigners or immigrants from other countries are facing in a land that is supposed to offer them not just opportunities, but safety. Thank you.
Can I speak to the freedom of expression in terms of Pledge of Allegiance?
Just a minute, justice for all, so that we don't have a podcast. Let's hear what Albert Nsengo has to do, then I'll bring it to you. Albert Amenda. Luka Matoke. Albert, request the microphone again. Luka Matoke. Allah. Nakataza nani kuongea. Okay. I see Albert is sawa. Justice for all, I think your
Kwa
microphone
sababu
is the
Mungu
one.
anataka niongee. To be
Pipita.
honest, hii kitu no, I'm just
Nimepata
joking.
Albert. Jambo Albert.
Okay, if
Jambo
he's here,
sana Pipita.
Albert, go ahead. Albert, go ahead.
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm fine. First of
Excuse me.
it's been a while. Alafu, I don't know if it's me, but Mizani and Justice for All sound like one of or one person. I think it's because also maybe I've listened to them for so long now, and their voices tend to be in tandem. Pipita, first bring me to books. Why are we? What are we matching each other for? Like I had Justice for All calling for this. That would be a good call again to remind us. Alafu as the deliveries were being made by Mizani and Justice for All, I remembered sisi wazee wenye tulisoma, sisi Gen Z. Nakumbuka I pledge my loyalty to the President and the nation of Kenya, my allegiance and the duty to defend the flag of a republic, such a thing. And then I think Harambe, and then perpetuated in the Nyayo philosophy, the philosophy of Nyayo of peace, love, and unity. I think such ethos should be reintroduced to the country of Kenya at this moment. I'm not saying the dictatorial rule that was there through the Nyayo era, but I mean such spirits that bring the people of Kenya together, reminding them of the peace, love, and unity, reminding them that Kenya comes first before our tribes or before our ethnicity or before everything else. I think what we see today happening probably in Isili or within this community is something that the political class was also bickering of some months ago, if not a year, when Aden Duale was made a cabinet secretary for defense. The same noise was there that he's Somali and why is he being given such a heavy docket? Already what that means to a country, it's that already they are calling on other communities and telling them, no, these are Somalis or these are different community. It's not a Kenyan community. Or maybe it was not an official statement, of course, not from the government, but politically, when you hear everything out, maybe it's said by some MCA or MP, someone, something that is really in the air, which is not good. In the same breath, in the same era, It was made, we heard that now the business community of Nairobi has shifted from Kikuyus, and now it has been taken by the Somalis or such a thing. So I think the DP also, in some of his rallies, also some of such statements of we have to protect the Kikuyus and their business culture. The culture has been taken away by the Somalis and everything, which draws to my now conclusion, looking at it politically and also futuristically as a country. Kenya is growing very fast democratically, and I think what Kenya is achieving now at 60 years old, I think maybe we'll have to look at it from a research point of view, but maybe US maybe was going through it when they were 100 years old. We could want, or maybe when they were 70. Maybe we are really growing as fast or faster than how US was growing then. Because if you look at our democracy, it's really borrowing a lot from the developed world and growing as fast. You've had the delivery from Justice for All, from Izani, saying how the flags have been brought out with different ethnicities in those cities. So meaning we have a situation where Nairobi or other bigger cities of Kenya are big metropolitan areas that are housing all ethnic groups from different groups, uh, asylum seekers, immigrants, everyone is housed there. They're being protected, of course, by the law, by the international laws, by the Constitution of Kenya, to do business, to actually operate within the Constitution of Kenya. When vices happen, definitely they will be punished by the Constitution of Kenya, or they'll be deported back to their countries. I think we've seen sometimes also it's not the right way to do it. But I also detest a situation where within the country we start feeling that some communities are superior than others. We have to remember the ethos of the country or the spirit of the country, that we are Kenyans, all bounded by peace, love, and unity. Whatever happens, we join hands to protest against it, and we say we don't like this injustice, be it that it was done on a Kenyan, be it that it was done on a Somali, it was done on a Kuria or a Suba or a Turkana or whoever. And I feel this is the spirit we should be fostering, definitely, all of us, and at the same time give platform that the metropolitan areas will have different type of protest, will have different type of uprisings. Somalis will come up and say, yeah, we are looking at our interests probably. Maybe they are Somalis, asylum seekers, but they're not real Kenyans. Or within them, actually, they are Kenyans. So it's also not so easy. You cannot also start again saying, are you a Somali from Kenya or are you a Somali from Somalia? I think we will have to actually also let the institutions do their work. They will know. But if they are rightfully housed in Kenya or living in Kenya, then they should be given the rights that are accorded to them, and of course, mostly the right of protection, and also to the Kenyans, to the Tanzanians, and to everyone else who is within the borders of Kenya. I feel that the topic now should have graduated to peace and love, and peace, love, and unity to everyone within the borders of Kenya, and we should think of ourselves as a uh, as one, rather than from which tribe or region someone is coming from. I drop it at that. Thank you. And Pipita, I'm happy to listen in and probably contribute. Yep. Asante.
All right. Thank you, Albert, for that. I wanted to tell you the reason why you're hearing Justice for All is talking about matching is Home Run with People is supported by you now. I've been trying to expand into YouTube, and it's quite expensive trying to get the guests to the studio. This weekend in particular, I'm supposed to pay someone's Uber kama 3,000 one way. So when Justice for All is saying kwamba he's matching, yeye na DO, they are putting down 5,000, but for me to get that 5,000 shillings, you have to get to 5,000, and right now we are at 1,900. So for those who are listening, you can drop something pale hivi kwa Tipja, and then for the next hour, Justice for All is definitely going to match. So that is how we try to increase the support huku hivi. Albert, I hope I've gotten to you.
Definitely.
Justice for All.
And
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Oh,
I,
you,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
I
Thank you
agree
so
with
much,
I
Albert.
agree with you. And again, it's for supporting of movements like yours that are really, standing for what we are trying to push in the society to make sure that we are doing the right thing. And Albert, as always, much respect for your contribution and thank you for that. Um, I'll simply take 1 minute to submit to one issue, which I just referenced it because I've have the this constitution right in front of me so that I can compare it with the allegiance. So the Kenyan one says, "I pledge my loyalty," and again, you guys can correct me because then that's probably what we have been doing. That I pledge my loyalty to the president and the nation of Kenya, my readiness and duty to defend the flag of our republic. Period. That's the first sentence. So I I have an interest to that statement. I pledge my loyalty to the president. Okay. So pay attention to this. Which shoot, I can open it because I have it in hard copy. But I thought I would. Okay, so the one that I have with the US, which I pledged to, it says, "I pledge allegiance to the flag and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." Now, I'm trying to draw a distinction between that flag because I wish Dr. Amotho would be here because I wanted him to come and speak to this. Um, uh, the Pledge of Allegiance in our context, you kind of pledge allegiance to the president, different from the way you pledge allegiance to. And I'm not talking about that the US one is superior to anything because I haven't gone to all the rest. But look at the difference between pledging allegiance to the flag, looking at pledging allegiance to the president first. Does that portend any kind of danger in the way we look at how we surface ourselves to? And of course, you guys who followed um, the court proceedings, I can see my friend Mizani has a hand up. But those of you follow the court proceedings, Dr. Njenga Kamoto has been representing President Ruto. Unknowingly enough, that was my classmate. I even have his jacket that he bought me back in the day when we were classmates in at UN, so that I can brag. Am I allowed to have bragging rights, PP? So anyway, so I had invited him to come and log in and I talk to us about Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. I did not want him to talk about anything legal, but about Pledge of Allegiance. So, does that bother you in any way that we pledge an allegiance to the president and not the Constitution? Does that matter to you? Back to you, PP, and of course, I can see my brother over here because I am interested in that context.
Mizani, then Albert. I see Albert also ameinua mkono juu. And also other guys can request the microphone. Ama ni topic ni ngumu sana. Mizani.
Tunaweza
Yeah,
badilisha
and
baadaye.
I promise this is my last submission. Without really submitting,
Usipotee,
I'll ask a
tutakuuliza
question.
maswali, wewe usipotee.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask a question to you, Justice for All. Thank you for reading the U.S. Constitution and the Pledge of Allegiance. I just remind you, a few minutes ago, I told you about the Union Jack and the Kenyan flag. Now, remember the very interesting position Kenya found herself when gaining her independence. It is more of about a negotiation rather than a fought for independence. Number two, look at the Pledge of Allegiance of England. You have your answer. And yeah, unfortunately, those are the bad manners we inherited from our how I say oppressors, and we still work with them. And that's why today our politicians feel greater than thou. Again, it's not Mizani that is speaking, it's Eli. Thank you. Two different entities.
No, you logged in through the wrong whatever you logged in through Mizani. So I'm sorry, you will be held accountable through. I'm just joking, by the way. Eli, I'm just kidding. But you logged in through Mizani, so we hold Mizani accountable.
Eli, wewe bwana, hata mimi ninasema I'm logging in on home run. Albert, what do you have to say first?
Just a quick one. By the way, speaking of which, maybe Peter, you'll also maybe have to, of course, brand and bring up your logo also, and come under your home run with with PP brand. Just want to answer Justice for All. Of course, he asks about the two allegiances or from the two different states, and now Eli, of course, introduces the third one from the UK. I understand that there are some things that have been borrowed, definitely, that have been there from the colonial time to now. But just like we changed the constitution, we can change some of these things, and we don't have to pledge the allegiance to. What I also wanted to is for all, if he actually ignored the fact that it does not say I pledge my allegiance to the president alone. It says and the nation. So definitely those are two different entities. So meaning you still pledge your allegiance to the nation. So probably we can also scrap off the president, definitely, because we're now more democratic than we were.
You can is what you pledge. Like even in high school and school, other students, wanaruhusiwa, you have to pledge to the president. So scrubbing you is not, unless we take it out. Can I, Daktari, can I tell you where the challenge is? Is because now this is embedded in law. It can be changed. But as we speak right now, our students, and I did check with my, whatever, my nephews in school, they pledge to the president. That's the first thing. And I was like, okay, you're so pledge to the president. Are you sure that's how they lead you into it? So don't say you scrub it. You can't scrub it voluntarily. That's what is there in law.
Yeah, I mean, through it, if it's an amendment or if it's just changing it from the law perspective. So if we have to table a bill or something or amendment to actually maybe scrap it off, and I think probably we are not the first minds to maybe be thinking of this, or probably there should be also some guidance or topic towards this. Maybe it's the right time that we actually talk about this. And I don't mean scrap it that we stop just here in our conversation, but I mean rather as a nation that can we actually maybe take it off, and now we don't pledge our allegiance to the president but rather to the nation. And then but the spirit for me, it was the spirit, the peace, love and unity that was by then was inculcated in our minds. We were like brainwashed to just, it was normal when we were growing up, and we know we just have to live in peace and love and unity. I understand that we didn't 207 or other instances also didn't, or we continue even growing from politically aligning with our ethnicity or something. But I also would want to think that maybe some of these things also kept us away a lot from some of the barbaric things we see in most of our neighboring countries, extremes of genocides and all these other things. I think there's a way the Kenyan community or society has remained sane politically in their differences, of course, but their constitution, but their democracy has kept growing to a level that a constitution has come in, and you can see it through their economic growth and all this. I would allude this to some right things that happened in the last years. And for me, I think such ethos of the nation were part of important things that propelled us as Kenyans. This is what I'm asking the topic of today. Do the Gen Zs actually know this? Is the current constituents who are the Gen Zs who are uprising, do they actually hold some ethos of the nation? Is the youthful population knowing this, or are we taught this only in primary school and then it ends there? As we grow up, we lose everything. This is my question more. is it a topic that we should now be focusing on and going in this direction so that we can maybe amend it to fit the times that we are in? I rest my submission. Alafu Pipita, I will do something on the tip jar, definitely to contribute to the conversation. Asante.
So, PP, allow me to say this. Even though we're discussing about the loyalty pledge, I'm just curious, was it not phased out with the coming of the 2010 constitution? Maybe.
That is what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Aikutolo?
I thought so too. And that's why when you look at the preamble of the constitution, it talks something much different, because I know growing up and going to school and being one of those people who went to school that was predominantly military based, the loyalty pledge was a must recite. But I don't hear that in our today's school going children. I'll be curious to find out if we still recite that and if it exists. And if it exists, I'll be questioning how come that is still within our existence, because one of the reasons we wanted to even have a different constitution was to make sure that the president is actually a figure of just national unity more than just an authoritative kind of master, which is what we borrowed from our colonial masters. Now, did it completely erase what happened in the pre-colonial, in the post-colonial period? That is not precisely true. But then again, I'm curious to find out from the lawyers and those of you who have studied the Constitution. I'm here to study. Thank you.
I had a lawyer earlier on, sijui ameenda wapi, Bwana Chalo, ni kama ame travel back. But if you can help us understand the law, and of course if that one is in the constitution, or if the loyalty pledge was dropped in 2010. And of course that part of Mizani 254 saying about the president being the absolute power. Today I've heard president saying that he is not interested in extending no term limits. So msimweke kwa hizo mahesabu zenu, by the way. Okay, that means he is interested.
No. PP, I think the kind of integration that we are missing here, and I'm sorry because I'm okay. Let me not speak anything further to that, but make my point that the last pledge that we used to have, to be honest, it's now we came up with the oaths of affirmations. If you look at the 2010 constitution, we came up with oaths of affirmations of office, which really substituted the loyalty pledge. And hopefully we can have somebody else with an authoritative legal process to guide us that we did not necessarily eliminate loyalty pledge, but we came up with the oaths of, what are they called? Please, somebody else who is in this field. Albert, help me. I think they're called the
The one you're
affirmations
looking
of.
for is oath of office,
Yeah,
oath
but
of
it's
office when taking
oath of
office.
office or affirmations of office. Yes. So those are the
But
ones that
even as you do
substituted
that,
that.
it has nothing to do with the loyalty pledge to the president and the country. So the oath has something different. But now we're talking specifically the pledge, which I believe was done away with. And that is by virtue of reading the preamble of our constitution. That's what I think.
Yeah, but the way they were constituted. Oh my gosh! If I paraphrase this wrong, please give me a leave on that. The answer was that the oath or affirmation of allegiance of public office. What happened is that they were more. Now I'm looking at this like it's Schedule 4, but I don't want to go into that because then I'll be accused of speaking about. So public officials are required to take an oath of affirmation of office before assuming their roles. So those are what we used to have in the previous constitution. We never used to have this. These are new. This is how we translate into this. So they still affirm into what are they swearing to? To the constitution, to the president, or to the office. Nakumbuka kitambo. Okay, sorry.
Just before you finish submitting, I think you've gone astray kidogo, pole, because you're talking about talking about public officers, but generally, I think I was alluding to actually the ethos of the nation, not public officers. Every citizen or everyone within the borders of Kenya. And as Mizani tries to direct us, I think it's true that I think in the new constitution it was dropped, and I'm not sure if kids still have such narrations or citations at a young age or in schools. So I think just as you're alluding to the oaths, definitely that they make when they are going in to take office. This is the rightful one. Definitely they keep doing it, but I actually meant the ethos of the nation, which is not. It's not actually part of the constitution, but I think it was, or in the previous one, it was actually coming along with the constitution just as a pledge to the nation of Kenya. I don't know why actually it was scrubbed off. That's why we also say probably we'll need some guidance on this, maybe from someone from just some constitutional lawyer or something, and we understand why actually it was scrubbed off.
And I'll get that. We'll probably get that into conversation. Let me read my final paragraph, and then I will let PP
Yeah.
take off from that. So, what I read, and again, this I could be wrong on that. Obviously, we are all either if we are a student of law, then we're on the same page. So here's some examples of oath of allegiance. For example, of oath of allegiance for public office, right? This is the only one I read. There are quite a number of them, but I'm not going to read into that. I'll read the first paragraph. It says that oath of allegiance for public office. This is required for members of, especially for members of parliament. I'm not going to go into the public because it's going to go way down in certain public officials, which says that I, Eli Likuyani, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance. Now, the problem here is where they still maintained, and you can go back to the constitution and check if I'm giving something that's wrong, then we correct it. The majesty, obviously, in this case, King Charles, is heirs and successors according to law. So help me God. Did they swear to that? If not, then we have an outdated, and I've just gone to the government. I've just gone to the government website to get this information. This is not nothing to do with such as government webs. So do we still wear to the Commonwealth as our Majesty the King and all that? Eli probably is more versed with this than myself. Do we still do that?
Eli, are you there, or should we listen to Ismail Luther?
Yeah, we'll probably get to Ismail Lut. But
Luther,
I'm
this is
afraid
really
I
good.
lost part of the
This is
submission
good for
because I was
research.
not on the call. Sorry about that.
okay, okay. Ismail, did you get what Justice for All was saying?
Hello, people. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
So the patriotism question, which we are supposed to be patriotic for what? Because now, we are expanding. We have been expanding this thing since 63. We used to swear our allegiance to the chieftain, to the king. But now it was expanded. We no longer have King Nabongo. We no longer have the Akina Mekatilili Wamenza. We now went further and saw the allegiance to protect the country. But these days we are even expanded it now to the East African EAC. So, and even we have a national anthem for the EAC. And if I can recite one of the first part, it goes in Swahili. E Mungu tuomba ulinde Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi na amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. So this one, it brings us the East African community together, and we saw our allegiance to it. But even so much, we usually move even further than that. And even now, as a human race, we have the Human Rights Charter, which brings us that we need to protect the rights of each and every person, irrespective of their race, religion, creed. So, back to Kenya, we need to protect the rights of all the people. You had 4 Turkeys were kidnapped and taken back to Turkey. And this was so shameful for us because we had broken, we had signed and ratified the Human Rights Charter, but then, which among them is the rights to protect the refugees. When people run from their countries and come to Kenya seeking asylum, we need to protect them. But the other week, we broke that. We kidnapped those 4 guys and took them back to Turkey. It was very shameful. You remember when the Tanzanian chap was shot 17 bullets, the Tanzanian opposition leader, and he sought asylum in Kenya, and we gave him protection until post Magufuli when he went back. So there are some rights which we need now to protect universally. Back to the Somali victims, actually to the family, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. It was a very sad matter, but allow me to indulge me a minute to speculate for a minute. So you have a lady, he gets out of the house at 8:30 a.m., goes to the BBS mall, one of the biggest mall in East and Central Africa, one of the spectacular malls for some dermatological care. Then this woman stay late until 11 p.m. This is a considerable long time, number of hours. Then we have 2 daughters here. They say, Mama stayed a long time. We need to call her. They call her. It's like, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. At the end of the day, they go down, they call a vehicle. Then the vehicle comes. So it seems even they have the number of the driver of this vehicle whom they call. And it seems it's somebody they know. He comes, they get into the vehicle, we are able to see it in the CCTV camera, and then they should be taken to where the mom is. Let's assume for now it's BBS Mall or the areas around. Now my speculation could be, it seems somebody was trying to stay with the mother and prevent her from going home. Is it seem that somebody was trying to negotiate something with the mother all this time, and maybe was instructing the mother to the answers that she needs to give the kids? Another speculation could be, is it a revenge mission? Are the people who are on a killing spree known to this family? Now, these are the things which are starting to go in my mind, because they have held captive this lady for some considerable hours, to the point that sometimes they allow her to pick the phones and answer back to the daughters. And when the daughters come to join and search her, they are all eliminated and spread in different parts of the.
Through PP, can we be guided on what we are focusing on? Because I don't want to lose this story, because it looks like a very good story.
Justice for all. Ismail is actually giving us the chronology of events of what happened in Italy. So please let him land. Ismail. Go ahead, Ismail. Unmute. Kwani tumepoteza Ismail?
As we move.
Oh, okay.
Pipi niaje?
Poa, nimekupata. Continue.
Kwani leo mko time bound ama nini? See, the space is usually relaxed to prosecute issues till 9 p.m. So just give me 2 minutes to wind up. So the issue here is we need the government agencies need to kind of work through it. But also my last concern will be given the nature of Isili, and if this was a revenge mission within the family, because this doesn't seem to be an ordinary thief. It seems to be somebody out there to destroy and kill. What about if this chap is not? Could this chap now, if he's not a Kenyan, could he be now heading to the borders, the Somali side? So I think we just need to think wider and broaden the search, but burn the midnight oil to search the perpetrators. But indeed, it's a terrible thing. Concerning the issue of the flags, I think the constitution allows us to have some dual citizenship. So you can have the citizenship of USA and Kenya, Somalia and Kenya, Uganda and Kenya, TZ and Kenya. Not really TZ. TZ, they usually don't allow people to have dual citizenship. So in that, if you get outside Tanzania and you have another citizenship, for example, in Germany, you automatically lose the TZ one. But in Kenya, we are a bit, we have freedom. So the issue of raising flags, I don't think it's a big issue, provided such a flag was not raised in a police station or in a government offices or agencies. Just having your flag, strolling with it somewhere, it's okay. I don't think it should be a big threat on our side. So as Kenya, again, I repeat, we are usually more